this lovely Saturday evening. I see we have some of us here. I guess the rest are rolling in. All right. Um, you said your study tour presentation was coming up, right? It's next week. Am I right?
Yes, the 24th.
Ah, okay, cool. All right. And already?
Well, we just got materials today for to start making a model and working on presentation at the moment.
Okay. All right. Yep. Well, this is the final dance that you guys have to do for CSA. So dance good. All right. And I know that I'm a part of that final dance. So we are to kick things off today with our very fun module, Advanced Computing 2, right? Okay, so everybody kind of got hopefully an idea of what to expect in advanced computing. A lot of futuristic stuff. We're going to do some graphics, some movies, and stuff like that, right? We are going to start off with our second brain. So remember we said we would start off with that topic, and we're kind of promoting the use of technology throughout advanced computing. And we're going to be promoting, like, as I said, the type of technology that maybe not necessarily is within architecture, but a little bit without architecture, a little bit on the outskirts. So we're going to talk a little bit about digital note-taking, or we could also call it creating a second brain, right? And I want to show you guys something. I have an example here. And you know what? The good thing is that most of my examples that I show you, it is usually from real world experience. So I promise you, I'm not making this up. All right, so we're talking about digital note taking, and we're gonna head over to the website here. Here we go. All right, head over to the mirror board. You guys can come along for the ride. And we're gonna talk a little bit about creating a second brain. Really centered around digital note taking. Anybody recognize any of these icons here? Anybody? Any fans in the house of any one of these apps? Anybody? No? What is it? Russell, you use any one of these apps? Is Russell here? I'm coming to the phone. All right. Daniel, is Daniel here?
Yes, I am.
Use any one of these apps?
Yes, notes. I think that's notes. The end, the one that in the box. I think I'm easy.
That's that's Notion, right?
Yes.
Right. Cool.
The third one in the first year, I think it's from Microsoft. That's something like that.
All right. You said the third one. Am I right?
The purple software, I think that's notes in Microsoft Office, something like that. I've opened it, but not used it before. And I think the other one is from storage. I think I don't know. It just looks
Oh,
familiar. I guess.
hold on. Your mic sound a little bit muffled.
Oh, um,
Right. So,
so the purple one is Microsoft Office 360 to kind of note note taking.
okay. Okay, I think I got most of what you said. All right.
Yeah,
All right. So, a little bit of Notion, a little bit of Office. Who else?
this will be the phone computer.
Wait, all right. Type it, Daniel. Type it. Yeah, type it because the microphone still sound muffled. Alex, welcome. How you doing, Alex? Alex just jumped in the class and said, boy, I called on him so early and I just come in the class. You reached your microphone, Alex?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. What do you say? Are you a fan of any one of these apps? And on screen, recognize any of these icons?
I use OneNote.
Or use OneNote. All right.
Yeah.
Any other ones?
No.
No, just OneNote. All right. Well, I know that everybody here has a physical notebook because you all have to submit your sketchbook, right? So everyone here has a sketchbook. Anybody that is not a fan of, all right, I see it, Daniel. Yeah, Microsoft Notes. I've never heard of that one. You sure it's not Microsoft OneNote? It's like a Microsoft Notes, different from OneNote? That's interesting.
No, I think it's just good. So I just, yeah.
All right. Who else? Who I don't hear from in a long while? Welcome, Shane. I call in on people as them drop into the meeting. No warnings. How you doing, Shane?
Doing stuff.
Okay. Um, do you use any digital notes taking throughout your 4 years of CSA? Anybody? I mean, Shane, not anybody, but Shane. Hold on, I don't catch it. I don't catch it. You getting good signal? Shane, you can...
I normally use, but I mean, I don't really have any specific that I like, but
Any specific? Okay, cool, cool. Well, this is one of the first things that I always introduce in this course, right? I promise you, I'm not trying to turn you into robots, but there are some practicality to creating I call it a second brain. Essentially, it's a digital notebook slash journal. Because what's happening is that when you guys you guys are already kind of almost in the work world. There's so much data that you need to collect on a daily basis. You know, everything from messages people send you to meetings. Some of it, we kind of store it all over the place. And this is one of the first things that we want to tackle because all of the work that we're going to do in advanced computing, I'm going to recommend / challenge you guys to start your digital brain from this class, right? Now, when I say digital brain, I don't mean that you are going to throw away your physical brain, right? I think over the years, you guys have been here for about 4 years, and you have been, you are required to collect notes physically, which is fine. and you will be doing more of that. But as you go out into the professional world, you're going to have to hybridize. I'm not sure if that's a word. If it's not, then I'll make it up. Meaning, if you look at these two examples here, this is a typical sketchbook, and this is my sketchbook from masters that I have here. This is OneNote. I promise you, I don't work from Microsoft, but it just so happens that that is the example that we normally use, mainly because it's free and it's mainly on all your machines already, and it checked a couple boxes. Right now, we're going to be using that as an example, but I'm not necessarily saying that that's the only note-taking app that exists, right? But what we're going to do, I'm going to try and push you guys further into having a way to store information digitally, right? And to hopefully give you a workflow to be able to do that, and to tell you why this is so important, right? I carried here for my, I guess you could call this a show and tell class. Where is it? Here we go. Notebook. Let's see if I can close some of these guys here. Right, so this that you're seeing here, week 5, week 6, week 7. So this was actually my sketchbook. And you could say I kind of tried this as a kind of example. When you're in CSA, you do everything from taking notes, doing research, looking on your class handouts, right? Everything from still drawing and sketching. Let me see if I can find some examples here. Right. So if you notice, oops, I zoomed out too much. If you notice, most of these notes that I have here are kind of weird. They're kind of vertical, if you notice. Excuse the horrible handwriting, right? But they're kind of vertical. And one of the reasons for that is that half of these notes I collected on my phone. At the time, I was using a note. And anybody in class have a note? Give me a thumbs up. Anybody? Any note users in the house? No? 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 Okay. So the note comes with a stylus. So all right, we have one note. All right, cool. Well, that makes sense. As you say, you have so much digital apps already. So the note comes with a stylus, and I challenge myself to say, you know what? I'm going to have a digital sketchbook for the entirety of this master's course, right? And I challenge myself to that. And of course, that comes with some caveats, right? If I am going to have a physical notebook, then I need to get an actual notebook, right? Most of you probably bought a sketchbook or something, right? You have to have pencils, you have to have tools. For the digital side, it means that, well, you have to have chances are for this industry, you have to have something with a stylus, maybe an iPad, maybe a note. I think the note is the only phone that comes with a stylus. I don't remember if other phones come with one. At the end of the day, you still have to have the tools. So I just say, let me take you guys through this kind of tour here. We're not going to go through all of these notes, but I want to show you some interesting things here. Like, there are times when we're trying to go through ideas, and ideas might come to you. Let me kind of zoom out here. Right. Ideas come to you in different ways. Now, a lot of this here is sketching. Some of it is photographs. Some is coming from the internet. Some is interesting text. And notice how we have some of the text highlighted, some underlined. Zoom out here. Then we might have some crazy thought. thought maps. In this case, it's a bubble diagram. And in other cases, we might need a screen clip, maybe from Google Earth or something like that, right? So what I'm showing you here is a kind of a digital representation of a sketchbook, but all collected in the same place. Now, I want to show you this other interesting idea here. Let me kind of zoom out here. I'm kind of flipping through. I haven't visited this in quite a while, so forgive me if I don't remember the exact pages for most of this information. Right. Now, some of the information that is collected is anything from copy and paste, music video, videos, audio, measurements. If I can find one, which year is this? Oh, okay. Yeah, let's see. No. See. Here. Okay. Okay. Now, notice that this is one of the other advantages I have. Most of this information have never returned to in years, but where I'm able to search for information, whether that information is handwritten notes or it could be measurements or from a site visit where I make notes that are marked up from photos that I took on site, right? So I want to just jump in. I'll come back to this in a little bit, but I just want to jump into some scenarios here of using digital notes. You guys went on a study tour recently. I figured that most of you take a bunch of pictures. Rochelle, is Rochelle here?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
So how was the collection of data on your study tour? How did you collect information when
So
you
you're
went on
asking me how
study?
I personally or how we as a class?
Personally first. Let's deal with that first.
For me,
Mm-hmm.
so when I take the pictures, like Apple kind of like geolocates it for you.
Right.
So I
So you
kind of
use your
use that to
phone.
like I use
So
my phone.
right. So you use your phone. That was your tool. Cool.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it stores it on the iPhone cloud, and I actually have that logged on my computer so that
Right.
I just have it like where I can just drag it from the folder, from the cloud folder, and then onto any file that I'm working on.
Cool. So you have the information in your phone and then it's synchronized to iCloud. All right. Any other information you collected? So that is photo information. What other type of data did you collect?
Like physical data, so like notes
Mm-hmm.
on
So you had your
the
sketchbook and
places.
stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had my sketchbook. I took notes of like what people were seeing. Most of the notes I took are like what people were seeing. I'm not a sketcher, but like sometimes I sketch, but like I mostly did took notes of like what people were saying and so on, and like places and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Important elements to kind of talk about later when it comes to analysis, that kind of stuff.
Right. So you have physical notes that you captured and then digital notes there. um,
Yeah, yeah.
as well. Cool.
Yes, sir.
Any videos?
Yeah, videos would go in the same format as the photos. So they would upload to iCloud and I would have
Got you.
them synced. Yeah.
Got you. Got you. So you realize already that in this life that we're living in, we have this digital data management that we have to kind of navigate because we have information coming from all over the place. I don't know if anybody have already had any information or software overload yet. Hold on, I think my son has my keyboard pressing or something. Either that or it's a ghost. One of them. Okay. Am I back? Yes, I'm back. Okay, yes, I'm back. No, actually there was something on the keyboard. All right. Right, right. So the point that I was getting to. So we have so much types of data that we are collecting. All right, so far as pictures and videos and physical notes. Anybody collected audio? Any interviews? Anybody did interviews on the study tour? No interviews?
Hey, sir. Yeah, we did. I got a few interviews.
How did you collect that info?
I spoke to them in Spanish.
Ah, nice. And how did you collect it? I mean,
I
apart
mean,
from in your brain.
I I use my phone to record it to like have it as a voice note. So I have like the 7 minute or 10 minute recordings of the conversation.
Got you. And which app did you use?
Voice notes on Apple or
Ah,
voice memo.
hold on. We have a lot of Apple fans in the house. So you
Yeah,
use
no
voice,
question.
right? So you use voice note. All right, cool, cool, cool. Now, another type of information you're probably going to have is going to be research, right? Which is probably what you guys are doing now for your study tour. And somehow you have to collate all of this information. So you're probably going to have to come up with your own workflows, maybe it's a discussion between, all right, we're going to put everything in Google Drive, or we're going to put everything on this flash drive, or we're going, you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to get at is that you already been exposed to the myriad of options that you have to navigate whenever you're collecting any kind of information. And one of the main challenges with information is that it is usually all over the place because there's different types of information, different hardware to collect them on, and different software that we can use to collect them. So I want to go through some scenarios here. Check out this. Let's see if this
You
will
know how it
play.
is. We take notes.
Are you guys getting audio with that coming directly to you?
Yes, sir. We're hearing the audio.
All right, cool. Can I go full screen?
Snap photos. We save all these ideas and we think, yeah, I'm capturing this moment. But what if what we're really doing is just creating these messy digital junk drawers? Well, today we're going to look at a really powerful way to capture not just the information, but the context that actually makes it mean something. It's like capturing the magic that connects all the dots.
So, to really get why this is such a big deal, let me walk you through a story that I guarantee is going to feel, well, pretty familiar. It's the perfect example of a problem we've all had, whether we even realize it at the time or not.
Okay, so picture this. You're in a brand new city, you're on a study tour, and you are just completely energized, right? Inspiration is literally everywhere, your brain's firing on all cylinders, and you're just trying to soak it all in.
So you see this incredible building. Snap. You take a photo. Then you notice this really unique little detail. So out comes the notebook for a quick sketch. You whisper a quick voice note to yourself so you don't forget why it's important. Then a local tells you this amazing story. You scribble it down on a napkin, and of course, later on, you're back at the hotel downloading research files about it. We've all been this person, right? We're creating this trail of breadcrumbs that we really hope we can follow later. Okay, now let's fast forward a month. You're back home, you're ready to use all that amazing inspiration, but instead of a coherent story, what you have is just a digital mess. A photo with no purpose, a sketch without any context, a mystery audio file, a crumpled note. It's all just completely disconnected. And you're just left there, staring at your screen, asking yourself that question we all know too well. Why did I take this photo? What was I thinking? The spark, the magic that connected all those pieces in your mind in that moment. It's just gone, vanished. All right, let's hit rewind. Let's go all the way back to that exact same moment of inspiration. But this time, we're going to change the game. We're going to use a completely different strategy. So forget all those scattered tools. This time, you've just got one thing, a tablet with one single powerful note-taking app. And believe me, this simple switch, it changes everything.
I mean, the difference is just night and day. Instead of all that chaos, you've got coherence. You snap the photo and you just drop it right onto a digital page. You sketch that cool detail right on the image itself. Your voice note? It's embedded right there on the same canvas. The story from the local gets typed right alongside it. And the research files? They're all linked from that one central hub. It's not just organized, it's completely integrated. Now this approach, it isn't just some clever little productivity hack. Nope, it's a fundamental principle. So let's actually give it a name and break down exactly why it works so incredibly well. So what is the secret sauce here? What's the core idea that takes this random collection of files and turns it into a powerful, genuinely usable memory? It's this concept called single packing. And the whole idea is to create a single information unit where everything, the picture, the note, the audio, all of it is permanently glued together by the context of the moment it was all captured. Nothing is separate. It's all one piece from the very beginning. And here's the real magic. The huge payoff here is that all of that frustrating mental work you have to do later, that reassembly, is just gone. You don't have to piece the puzzle back together because you never actually broke it apart in the first place. The source material just nails it with this quote. You never ever have to waste your precious mental energy playing detective trying to figure out what your past self was thinking. That phrase, playing detective, isn't that perfect? It's exactly what we're forced to do with our own scattered notes all the time. So you might be thinking, okay, this is a neat technique for a creative study tour, but what about real life? Well, this is absolutely not just for that one scenario. This is a universal principle that applies to pretty much anyone who wants to capture and remember ideas better. Whether you're in a boardroom or a classroom, just think about it for a second. You can use this in a big meeting, right? Snap a photo of the whiteboard and add your own audio commentary right on top. Or maybe you're reading a book. Take a picture of a page that blows your mind and annotate it with your immediate thoughts. Brainstorming sessions, those sudden flashes of inspiration. Literally any time an idea strikes, you can now capture it with its full context totally intact. And this all leads to a much bigger idea. We're moving beyond simple organization or just being more productive. This is about fundamentally changing how we think about what it even means to take a note. So, the critical shift in thinking is this. We have to stop seeing ourselves as just collectors of, random scraps of data. That's such a limited view of what we're actually trying to do. The real goal, the much deeper purpose here, is to capture the reality of a moment. And that means grabbing your thoughts, what you saw, what you heard, and, this is crucial, the invisible connections that link them all together in your brain at that one specific instant. So this leaves us with a kind of challenge. The next time you reach for your phone or a notebook to save an idea, just ask yourself this. Am I just collecting another lonely fragment that's destined for a digital drawer somewhere? Or am I capturing the full, rich reality of this moment? Think about what you might be losing and what you could start capturing instead.
Sorry, you're muted.
Right. Yeah, man. I'm back. Right. So the main thing is trying to collect different forms of information, but ideally in one place, especially when you have to come back to it later. This is the thing, guys. Um, for school, things are a little bit hectic because you need everything like now. But for life, um, note taking is not just for the project that you're currently doing now. Sometimes you're just making notes because maybe this is an interesting thought, maybe it's an interesting website, or you want to remember to collect something later. And this is the thing, because in school, everything is like immediate. So I can take 50 pictures and just put it on this jump drive. Chances are you're going to need to access that jump drive relatively quickly, not like uh, a year later, right? I don't know if anyone of you try to access maybe something that you did in first year, maybe, right? So having a plan for the real world in terms of digital organization is a conversation that we're having now. And when you capture something, trying to capture the environment with it. So let me bring up some more examples here. So for example, this was a project. I don't even remember when I was doing this, but there are different kinds of information here, right? And this is something that was working on. And this is a combination. It was an interior design project, but it was a combination of ideas. Part of it is also a visiting the actual site. So for example, this is a photo of the place, and and then this is an on-site sketch. And then this is an idea, but this idea was maybe captured long after, right? The idea is that there is one kind of notebook that stores it all. Now, this kind of information is mainly photos and sketches, which is fine. We have a lot of software that can also do that as well. But also, um, bring up this one here. All right, sketchbook. Yes, this is my sketchbook. Right. So this was the actual version of the sketchbook that I handed in, right? And the connections is the important thing. That's what we're talking about. The source material is here, and immediately your thoughts and your research can make a direct connection to the source material. So for example, this is me trying to understand what the handout is saying, right? Here is a link, and here is the source to that link, which is from Wikipedia, because maybe there's this word here I'm trying to figure out. Hey, what is this word? Okay, this is where I got that information, and this is the link to where I got it. Now I'm revisiting this years later, but immediately I can see where everything was connected. Okay, so what is this? Okay, this project, this is a description of what it is. I don't know what this word is. This is connected directly to it. And this way of connecting contextual information, meaning if I can put, let me zoom in here. If I can put everything down in one place, try to capture it all together. At least try and make that your aim when you're capturing information. Now, the reason why it's a good time to learn this is because school is a little bit different. So, for example, I have to package this on a page in order to submit it because, CSC requires you to submit a sketchbook. But in real life, your note taking should not have boundaries because, sorry, your thoughts are something that can stretch, and one idea can lead to another, can lead to another. So one of the main features that you should look for is something called like an infinite canvas. Anybody ever heard that term before? Infinite canvas? Yes? No? Maybe so? So the infinite canvas is simply a page that has no end, that has no borders, because your ideas has no end or no borders either. And you know, yes, I have to put this on a page to submit it, fine. But let's think a little bit outside of school now, right? Where an entire project might stretch and stretch and stretch. Anything, maybe today it's a site visit, but the next time it's ideas. The other time it could be a spreadsheet. The other time it could be an interview. What I'm trying to promote is putting all of that in one place so that when you go back to it, everything is there and linked. So this leads me to the next thing, which is how do you collect this information? Because when you put everything in one place, it can tend to get confusing, right? And I mean, maybe my example here isn't the best example because, I've carried this notebook around for years. But if you notice, different note-taking applications have different way of organizing those notes. So for example, for OneNote has notebooks, and then the notebooks are divided into sections, and then the sections are divided into pages. Um, um, you might have anybody use what's Google's one called again with the light bulb? This one here.
Google
Uh,
Keep.
Google Keep, right. Google Keep, on the other hand, is more of a sticky note. As a matter of fact, that reminds me that even Windows has a sticky note built in. If I can bring it up here. Right. Right. And it has sticky notes, so I can pull up any one of these sticky notes, with stuff that I want to remember. But then, you have sticky notes, and then you have OneNote, and then you have a sketchbook. So the main thing I'm trying to say is that before you capture anything, think ahead to, okay, where do I want to capture this? Like create an infrastructure for yourself that you can start collecting your notes, because I'm telling you, it's going to be one of the most valuable things, especially in architecture. You work on a project and 2 years down the line, you're working on a similar project and you want to revisit those notes that you took, all of that research that you did, you know, you guys are going to start interfacing with things like that has to do with municipal laws and regulations and building codes and those things. So every project requires its own research and building code. And you might do an interior project where you looked up all the codes that are related to you. 10, 3 years down the line, you're doing a similar interior project. It would be great if you can review those notes. And if those notes are sitting in Google Drive, in iCloud, all over the place, it's going to be hard to piece that information together, right? So that leads me to my other point here. We are saying that we're not trying to get rid of the action of sketching and collecting information. What we're trying to do is put it in a hybrid format that has more legs to stretch much further. And that may require an investment. You might need equipment, you might need a change of mindset, whatever it is. But it is well worth it, especially that you're about to take your journey now. So, because you're going to store all that information in one place, wherever that is, the way how you store that information is what comes into mind. Like you can't just fling everything um in Google Keep or in Evernote. I don't hear anybody say Evernote. Anybody uses Evernote?
Sir, I don't use it, but I know it.
You know it, right? You can't just throw everything in Evernote, right? You have to have structure of storing your notes, right? It isn't good enough to keep. Who in here stores notes in WhatsApp?
Me, sir.
Come on, admit it. Even me, I store notes in WhatsApp. You're trying to remember something. I said, I need to remember this. Let me send a message to myself. Even WhatsApp recognize this and allow you to send a message to yourself as an actual feature, right? Chances are, hopefully, maybe a couple years down the line, you might be able to search for that message. I don't know if anybody ever tried looking for a message before and you say, I knew I wrote it down, but I cannot remember. You don't remember what to search for. Or maybe you have a contact in your phone and you know the person's contact, but you don't remember the person's name. So then how you going to search for the contact? You know you wrote down what was the note behind this building. I saved it in my WhatsApp. But what do I look for? And don't let me get me started on if something happened with your phone and you have to transfer your data and you lose your messages and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to get to is that have an organized way of, well, an organized hardware. So you need to invest in whatever hardware, right? If it's a phone you need, get yourself a good phone. If it's a tablet you need, get yourself a good tablet. It's just a part of your professional development, right? Think of it that way. Um, so I want to show you this method of capturing information, right? And one of the ways to easily remember it is that the acronym is CODE. And these tips, these great tips, some of this comes from this book. You guys can check it out, Building a Second Brain. And it's interesting. Every year this lecture evolves because when I was looking in my previous notes, um, you know, I I I find, oh, hold on. These are notes that I used to teach, and there's a book about it that's out. It's almost like a person going to your brain and take out the information, or more, I could have probably wrote a book about it as well. But anyway, but you can find more information here. But I just want to summarize some of these things. So you have the acronym CODE, which is capture, organize, distill, and express. So we're talking about capturing digital notes now, right? And remember, it's not just about school, right? It's not just about study tour. I'm just talking generally. When you're out there in the professional world, you're going to be collecting information. Whether it's somebody just call you quickly to give you information, or you're just calling a contractor, or you're taking a walk on the beach and you have inspiration of a design, all of this is data that you somehow need to store and retrieve in some way. And the reason why I call this second brain is because your first brain, which is your real brain, the main superpower of your real brain is coming up with ideas, identifying patterns. Like think about when you're trying to flesh out your studio project and you're working out your floor plan and you have some ideas and you look in this book and you say, oh, that thing on that facade looks great. And you make a mental note and then you find something else. And then in your brain, you're like putting it together. So your brain is really good at that. Your brain is good at recognizing patterns, putting things together. But what your brain is not good on is storing information for an extended period of time. Like, think about when you guys study for an exam. Like, yeah, but when the exam finish, like, you don't keep that information. It's gone, right? Everybody used to play piano or music, and haven't done it in years. What them say, if you don't use it, who remembers the rest of that? If you don't use it,
You lose it.
exactly. But not if you have a second brain, and that's the point that I'm getting to. The second brain is really the note taking that you guys have already been doing. But it is not enough to just put a voice note to yourself or just save a picture in your WhatsApp. If you want to employ the the use of this second brain, you have to organize all of that data that you're collecting. So the first one is capture. And this is why I use OneNote as my example, right? Because up till now, it is the only note-taking app that allows me to capture. Let's look at text. What kind of information do I capture as text? Well, the first one is that you type it, right? I mean, I can bring up my sticky notes and I can type notes. So that's the first thing. Almost all note-taking apps allow you to capture text this way. What's the other thing? Capturing text from images. That is a super important one. How many of you have gone on a website or somewhere or look in a book and you snap a picture? But what happens is that when you snap a picture, it's not searchable. You cannot search or extract the text from that. So having the ability to where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Having the ability to I'm just picking at stuff randomly here. I must can find a picture here somewhere. Or maybe I should just grab one from the internet. Okay, having the ability to see an image like this, and I can just right click and copy text from image, copy text from picture. It's beautiful. As a matter of fact, Windows can do this now. I think it's built in. Control Shift. No, sorry. It's not built in. Right, you need an app for that. So exactly. So anyway, I don't want to go too deep into apps or whatever. There's an app for everything. I'm sticking to the note-taking app. So another very useful thing is that you can take a screenshot like that, copy that screenshot, paste it in your note-taking app, and then copy the text from the image and paste it. Bam, you have the text from the image. Other forms of capturing text is capturing text from text. Every note app does that. You go on the internet, you see a phrase that you like, you select it, right-click copy, right-click paste. That's pretty straightforward. Capturing text from PDF, that one as well. A lot of times, some note-taking apps does not cannot get a PDF. For example, if I have my sticky notes here, I can't put a PDF in this. And what you can do, guys, because I don't use some of these note-taking apps, so you can help refresh me if like Notion does this or does Apple Note does this. You know what I mean, guys? For those of you who are fans of these other programs, just say, oh, sir, but yeah, man, this program does this, right? So capturing notes, capturing PDF, capturing text from PDF, capturing text from dictation. What do you think of this one, Antonio? Is Antonio here? Finding the mute button.
Yes, sir, I was finding mute button, sorry.
Yeah, man, I know it is. Capturing text from dictation, right? I mean, you can save a voice note, but how do you extract information from a voice note? What do you have to do?
Well, when I took my interviews, what the app did was actually give me a transcription. Or, for example, like if I were to talk to some or anything that I'd say, it would just come up as a transcript, and I could just copy and paste it or save it as a text file. Or if it doesn't work, I could upload it to a third-party website, and like it would transcribe it based on whatever info is in it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Exactly. So copying text from dictation or transcription, we can call it that. That is another feature. All of this is just text alone. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that you guys need a solution for every one of these scenarios, right? Whether you're going to use multiple apps, a third-party app, or one app, you need a way to capture all of these types of text. The next one is audio. And I know that we said capturing text from dictation, but technically that's not audio. So for example, audio is capturing voice notes. So a lot of us will just grab for, tell me the easiest thing for you to grab for to collect a voice note. Riley, is Riley here? What's the easiest app for you to draw for to collect voice notes, Riley?
The easiest app for me to collect
A
voice
voice,
note,
yeah. Yeah, some kind of note, but in the form of voice.
I use Good Notes.
Good notes, that's interesting. That's like a third party app. It's like an Apple thing or Windows or anything.
I think it's for every device, but I use it
Right.
on iPad.
Use it on iPad, right. So you can just hit record and just collect a note.
So I mainly used it when I was doing office practice
Mhm.
and we had to take notes to go towards our journal. So I
Right,
recorded while I was in the notes app and noted different things, but I could listen to the voice notes to then finalize and confirm the notes I made.
right. Cool. That's great. What about um who captured? So we have notes, and the reason that I have two different icons here is that one is voice note and one is audio, which is different. So audio would be like there is audio on the internet. Maybe you found a music. Let's say it's a song. Let's say that it's an important song that's going to be a part of your I don't know, your studio project or something. And this song is on a website. In that case, the audio exists already, and but you want to capture that as a part of your notes. So Alexia, what would be your go-to for that? How would you capture that? What am I doing on time? 7 o'clock. Alexia here?
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
So you go on this, let's say you need, I don't know, it could be a music, maybe it's something for your studio project, some kind of audio. And maybe you go to a website and, you know, I need to I need to make a note of this song. How would you capture that? What would be your go-to?
Well, certain streaming apps you can share a link from the song into whatever notes you have.
That's a good point. Well, if it's on the internet. Right. So do you have an app of if you were faced with this situation, what would you do? Like, let's say you're collecting different types of data, and one of them is a music, is a song. How would you capture that? How would you store that in your research notes? Would you like put it in your Google Drive?
Well,
Would
I
you
would
use the
record it.
application? Yeah, what would you do?
I would use like my voice recorder on my phone and then put it in a Google Drive.
So you would you would like play the music and then record it on your phone and store it in some cloud storage or something.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool, cool. So that it will have is audio, right? The next thing is images. And images don't have to be still images. When we say images, you can have moving images. And Kaylee, what is moving images? We call that Kaylee?
Video.
Exactly. So Kaylee, you need to capture a video from YouTube or wherever, Vimeo, and it's a part of your research or project or whatever. What would be your go-to? How would you capture that video? How would you store that note?
It's similar to Alexia. I guess the link, copying
You
the
take a
link.
link. All right, cool.
You can screen record,
And you
screen.
can screen record. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Cool. Now, the last one is interesting. Well, not the last one, second to last one. The reason I have a question mark here is just random files, right? So, Thompson, are you here, Thompson?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So let's say you know you need you're doing your studio project and you need I don't know, maybe it's a detail, right, for your project. You need to find out how this thing connects to this other thing, and you go to this website and you find, oh, here's an AutoCAD file that has the detail. Let me capture that. Let me keep that for when I need it later. How would you capture that information? This is an AutoCAD file now.
Well, to go the easiest way possible, I would literally just print screen and just
Well,
keep that.
that's assuming that you can open the AutoCAD file. Let's say you don't you're on a library computer, so you don't have AutoCAD, or you just used your phone. What's important is the file. You want to get this file. So what would be your method to get this file? You put it in your Google Drive. Would you put it store it on your phone?
I mean, I would try to email it to myself and
Email
then
it to yourself. Yep, that's another one.
if all else fails, I ask somebody that's more computer inclined.
Or get help. Yeah. All right, no problem. So email it to yourself, put in Google Drive, so forth. And then of course, this one is links. And we kind of spoke about this already. Some persons, if you have something on the internet you need, you would just save the link. Um, but there are different types of links, and we'll get to that in a sec. So what I've highlighted here is capture. These are pretty much the primary types or ways that we can capture digital media and physical, because if you write something down on a paper, you can take a picture of it. That would fall under the picture section, right? Or you could directly draw or sketch. You know, maybe I need to add that as a whole new category, right? For drawing and sketching. But all of this is under capture. So what I'm saying to you guys is that you need to have a solution for every single scenario on this list. And the best solution that you can have is hopefully not using 10 different apps to do these 10 different things. Because if you're doing some research, you go on YouTube, you find a link, you need to store that. You find the music video that you need to save. Let me email that to myself. No, the AutoCAD file, let me email that to myself. You see the music video that's there, you can download the video, but you say, okay, let me save the link, right? For example, the capturing the taking the interview as text, you say, okay, let me use my phone and get this app and make it dictate for me, blah, 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 blah. And same thing for the voice note. You might use the Grabber app to record the voice note. Now, the video that we just watched a while ago speaks about connecting all of this together. Because as it is right now, the way that we capturing all of this information is very disconnected. So let's say, for example, um, let me just go to a new notebook here. Advanced Computing 2. Maybe I need to make one for 25, 26, or maybe not. Anyway, let's see. Where did I put you? Put you somewhere. This one. All right, cool. Let me just go to a new page. Let me make this smaller. So as I said that I'm doing this demonstration. I'm teaching the concept. I'm not saying that you have to use OneNote. So that's a disclaimer, but I'm just using this as my example. So first thing, let's say that I'm doing a research on this thing here. I grabbed this picture from the internet. So let's keep tabs on the different types of data that we have here. How do I do this? Let me dot this. Let me dot this over here. Put that over here. So right. So we're talking about capture. So let's say that this is my building here, and I don't know, I might be doing a research. Maybe this is my studio project. I'm just making this up as I go along, guys, because I'm just showing you an example, right? And let's say that I need to do a research on each of these things: roof, parking, terrace, entrance. let's say each one of these is a different data point and I need to like look up information on each one of them, right? Now, the first thing is that if I want to type information, I can type it. I can, well, remember we spoke about one of the first things we spoke about is because you're in the design field, you want to get rid of boundaries to your thoughts. Whenever you open like a slide program like Google Slides, PowerPoint, Word, all those programs, you have a workspace. You have boundaries. Your thoughts must fit in this 11 by 17, letter size, whatever, portrait, landscape. So you have to think about layout automatically, right? It's like when you guys go to layout your sheets, you have to think, all right, I'm going to put this section up here and I'm going to make it this scale because you have to work within the boundaries that you're given. For you guys, for a note-taking app, I would suggest something with an infinite canvas. So many programs have this. For example, I can zoom all the way out and I can put a note over here. I can put a note down here. I can zoom out to infinity, essentially. And my thoughts and ideas can just extend into limitless boundaries, you know? And I could just continue adding and adding, as I showed you with the project there with the whole heap of photos. That's an example of a project that just expanded over time. So that's one of the first things here. And so yes, the note does have a date and all of that. That's fine. So in this case, I drop a picture here. So that takes care of this one here. We can check this off of the list that, oh yeah, we can add pictures. Fine, cool. Um, who did I ask? Oh, we were talking about text, right? So I can, if I wanted to put a definition of here, what is a roof? And let's say I'm making a note here, I can just type. That's the first and most basic form of text input typing. So, I can say,
Taking up are you using?
is that a question?
Yeah, which note taking app are you currently?
Oh, this is OneNote. This is OneNote.
Oh, well,
So I will just put a roof is made to provide shelter from the elements, right? Very basic. So I just plop a note wherever. Now, that's the other thing now. This is why we wouldn't use Google Docs for notes or Word because those programs now give you even more boundaries. So you have to be on a page, but then you also have to be in a line. You have paragraphs. You have all of these things, these structures. And whenever you're in the action of taking notes, especially if it's for idea or research, you want as little boundary as possible between the idea and you collecting the idea. So meaning you don't want to have to say, all right, this picture is too big, let me make it smaller so it can fit on the page. You don't want to have to say this paragraph is too long, let me make it shorter. Let me do a new paragraph. Let me change the font style. You don't want to have to go into all this stuff because you just need to put down the idea. We're capturing information. So let me put a note here. So it just goes into this text box that, as I said, is into infinity. So I can put it anywhere. I can resize it or do whatever. But let's say that this is for the roof. Now, maybe one of the most underrated but really useful things about a note-taking app is making connections, visual connections. And you guys are in a visual module. So for example, I want to connect this note to this roof here. And this is where the ability to draw comes in. I can draw and I can say this has to do it here. Or this has to do with that note. It is so powerful, just simple little things. So for example, let's say that I was defining two different types of roof. Well, this one here is talking about one type of roof. So maybe maybe I want this to be in green. And then maybe I have another definition of roof and I made that note in red. So you can use colors to separate your notes. So this is not about the features. This is about you using the features of the program to organize yourself. Don't just plop the text there in the middle of nowhere. Connect it to the context of what you're speaking. Right? Remember the video that we just watched a while ago about, and it was like, look, you capture the thing, you make a note right there, you take a voice note right there. So everything is connected. It's not in Google Drive, in wherever, they're all connected. All right, so let's move on. So let's say that we're also capturing text from images. So maybe I went on the internet, which is 99.99 where we would go to get information. And let's say that we're talking about roofs. What are roofs? And we'll go to images, and we do this a lot. We're going to Google and we look for images of stuff, and maybe there's this interesting diagram. Let me just pick, I'm just picking one at random, guys, and I'm just grabbing this picture here and sticking it there, right? The next thing is that this goes in a note thingy right here, and go back. Which one did I grab? Oh man, this one, right? I went to this website, right? Good. So let me grab it from here. Let me delete that. Stick this here. All right. So I put this here, and let's say that this is a table, and it has great information. So I need the text from it. So remember we demonstrated that. So there we can just copy the text from image and just drop it there. Maybe this isn't the right format, but the fact is that I don't have to spend time copying all of this text information, right? And maybe this is also connecting to roof. So maybe I make a note. Maybe this time I want to highlight an important note, asphalt roof, because I want to say that I want to use asphalt here. So that's my thought. And maybe I want to attach asphalt to a particular note that says, just grab my, oh, just escape, just say, I prefer this roof. I'm just making up stuff, guys, right? I prefer this roof. And I just put that here. So all this information is connected contextually because I know that this note is talking about this. I know that this is here. And this here, let's say that I want to make a table of this, then I can put a note there to make a table later. So let's say that I wanted to talk a little bit about let me just say, let's say I wanted to talk a little bit about this type of roof, asphalt composition roofs. Maybe it's an interview. So this we spoke about this with who was it? With Antonio, right? So you were taking an interview. Let's say you're interviewing somebody about asphalt roofs. So right then and there, with all the notes that you already have, you would just insert a recording, and transcribe is here as well. I would just insert a audio recording of, let's make this bigger, record video, record audio. Maybe here this thing changes. Oh, audio recording here. So this is a recording. Oh, yes, it's recording now. Oh, it's recording by default. So I'm actually recording the fact that I'm saying recording. But anyway, I'm going to click stop here. And here's my voice note, my recorded note that's right here. So I recorded this information on February 14th. Happy Valentine's, everybody. Right? And this information is an interview that I can directly connect. Okay, we're getting tired of red now. Let's use sparkle. I can connect to the roof, right? Because this was an audio recording. So right away, I see you're a fan of sparkly. So I know you're sold. After I use the sparkler, you're sold, right? Yeah. Anyway, so this information, this voice recording that I just took is directly connected to this, which is also connected to my drawing and my personal notes that I'm making here, all in one context. All right, let's make our way down the list. So the next thing I want to speak about is let's we're still on capture, which is C. How am I doing on time? Hopefully not too bad. PDF. So let's say that I need to get this PDF. Let's say it's a PDF on roof. Okay, maybe we kind of talk about roofs too much. Let's talk about something else like entrance. No, terrace. Okay, terrace. Maybe it's a drawing specifications of a terrace. Um, all right, so let me say drawing. No. Detail of roof section. I know I'm still on roofs, guys. And let's say in this case now I have a PDF. It's a PDF. PDF. Let's say that it's a PDF. Actually, no. I don't want it to be a diagram. I want it to be text. So I'm going to say roof shingle product document. Let's see what I can find here. PDF. Ta-da-ta-da. Okay, GAF roofing. All right, so this cool document about roofs, and well, I want to capture this document. I will go through it later, but for right now, I just need to save this PDF. So you might say, okay, let me download this PDF, right? And I download it to my desktop, and then I say, all right, let me save this PDF in my Google Drive, in my OneDrive, on my desktop. Oh gosh, how many of you save stuff on your desktop? Come on, guys, be honest. Desktop people. How many of you save stuff on your desktop?
Yes, sir.
All right. How many of you, if I say, show me a screenshot of your desktop now, you can't even see the picture, all you see is icons, right? I know how it is, but this
I
is the
turned
thing.
off my icons.
Oh, because it's so, yes, I can imagine. But guys, this is what I'm saying. Download this document about roofing, and it's gonna when I download the document. So this is not information now. This is a file, and it's gonna be in my downloads. But guess what? I'm gonna store it in the same location, which okay, let's use Google. I don't know where Google put it. Where did it put it? It put it here we go. Oh well, what do you know? It went to the desktop. All right, guys, do as I say, not as I do. All right, so it went to my desktop. I'll just drag that PDF directly in here. Now, when I drag it in here, it's going to ask me, do I want to attach it as a file? Meaning that PDF file will be stored in my document, but I can't see it, meaning it's going to be a file, almost like I store it in Google Drive. Or do I want to attach it as a printout? How much pages is this? Crap, it's a lot of pages. Well, anyway, let's go for it. Insert printout. Let me zoom out here. And just give it a little while for, well, there we go. All right, so we have this massive printout here. And guess what? Because we have an infinity canvas, it doesn't matter if it was 200 pages or 20 pages. So I can grab all of this stuff and I can do whatever with it. I can zoom out. Well, I can't zoom out anymore on this screen. Or can I? I should be able to zoom out more. Out 10%. Can I go to 2%? No, volume must be between 10 and all right, fine, whatever. Right. So so I'll just select all of this and I can choose to organize them however I want. Remember, we're not limited by the boundary of the page. Like think about if you extracted a 30-page PDF in a 11 by 17 sheet. you'd have to be thinking of, all right, let me resize this to the, and you just need to get through the research quickly. Now, so let's say I choose to break it down like this. And at the end of the day, I just needed this, I'm just picking one at random, this sheet. Maybe I just needed this sheet, right? Now, this is an image that was extracted from the PDF. Um, uh, and I chose to insert a printout of the PDF, not the PDF itself. Now, I could, let me delete all of this because I just wanted this because this document here had some important information that spoke about my shingle roof, right? And the information that it has was, let's say it's this treatment that's right here. So I grab my highlighter and just highlighted this, and then go for my sparkly marker and connected that to here, or maybe let's connect it to this one because and then this is the important time, right? You make a note because 1 month after this, you look at this and you're wondering, okay, this applies to this. What was I thinking here? Always make a note. So just type and say that, this is the correct spec for this roof. And you put that note there so that you know down the future that this is here. But let's say that you wanted to save the PDF because maybe you wanted you might have additional information in the PDF that you needed at a later date. Well, what you would do is you would go back to your desktop, which is here. Here we go. And I'll drag the PDF and I will say attach file. So now here is the entire PDF right here. So I have the PDF and I have the pullout right there. So if I need to go back to the PDF for anything, I don't need the downloaded file. I don't need to go and search in my desktop or in my downloads and say, oh crap, did I delete this PDF? It's right here in the same notebook that I have. And I can just double click it and it will open. It's just giving me a warning saying, hey, make sure it's not a virus or whatever, choose okay. And it will open right then and there in your PDF reader, right? All right, so we covered all of the text stuff. Oh, we didn't cover dictation. So we covered capturing audio, a voice note, but let's cover dictation. So if I wanted to know, because it's going to take too long for me to type, or maybe I'm on my phone and I don't have the speedy thumbs to type really quickly, then I would just, hold on, I did do dictation already. Yes, I did do dictation. Oh, sorry. I did voice note, which is me capturing audio, but dictation now is the audio that is going to be read from, is typing that is going to be read from my voice. So if I wanted to capture that, I would just go to insert, and this time I would go to transcribe. Transcribe. Da-da-da. Okay, which is built in. Switch accounts to transcribe. You're active. Da-da-da. Is that? Of course I need to sign in. Come on, man. What do I need to sign in as? Your current account is that. Oh, FD team at Outlook. Really? Okay, so of course, Microsoft is doing Microsoft stuff. It's asking me to sign in to the right user. Okay, whatever. Transcribe. Here we go. And then I can start recording. And right now I'm recording. Mic check. Hopefully this will work. Save transcription now. And of course, it has to be connected to the internet. I thought this was offline. Anyway. Come on. And it will transcribe. Security features. All right, so here it is, transcribe. So here is that transcription right here. and it saves the transcription and the text and a recording of the text right there. So right now I'm still collecting all this information on one location, right? And then of course we have these others here. Now this one we put images there. What about this one? What about the Revit file, the DWG file? I think I had asked Thompson. So Thompson, if you found a DWG file on the internet that is relevant to this, maybe you found maybe you went to SketchUp Warehouse. You remember Warehouse, Thompson? You use do you use SketchUp
Yes,
Warehouse?
sir.
Right.
Well, yeah.
3D Warehouse. Oops, spelled wrong. Okay. And you find an interesting model, like we go to 3D Warehouse all the time. I don't know why I'm on this roof thing, but let's just say that you found this awesome model and you download it. Of course, you have to sign in because everything in this planet requires that you sign in. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's not the right sign in. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And you download. Thought I click OK. And I download. Okay. Is this because it's a, okay, let me use, let's download another one. Let me use my Google. It's here. Right. So I download this file that's here. I can just drag that file directly into OneNote and it will attach that file. So I have, in this case, it's an AutoCAD file. It's a SketchUp file, but it could be an AutoCAD file. I'm not saying that you should use OneNote to store all your files, but in this case, where I can just put the model of the thing I'm talking about directly into OneNote, absolutely beautiful. Now, I think the last thing that we're talking about with capture is video, right? So let's go back to our list, which is here. Right, so we're talking about video. And I was telling you that there are different ways that we can capture, that we can add links. So right away, if I went to YouTube, and I get some kind of presentation on roofs, and I wanted to capture this video on roofing tiles that's here. So sure, I can just copy the link. But the good thing is that when you paste the link here, it also embeds the video directly on the page. So that means that while I'm here in my notebook, I can just hit play and it will play the video for me right then and there
In every industry, there's
while
always
I'm in the notebook.
jargon or a certain
So
language
what
that
that
the
means is
people in
that
that
I don't
industry
have, like, I
speak. And
could be
unless
listening to
you
this
work
and
in
then
that
making
industry,
notes
you have
right below
no
it.
idea what these people are talking about. So in this video, we're going to go back to the basics.
You get what I'm saying, guys? Have I lost anybody? Hopefully not going too fast.
So we're there, man.
You there? All right, cool.
We can also split screen too, that's also a thing.
Right, right, right. So the point of the point of all of this is that capturing is an important part. That is the first thing in the code concept. So the first thing is capturing, and that is going to form a really important part of your second brain in note taking, right? Hopefully, you can capture all of this with one application, but until this date, I have found that OneNote is able to give me every mode of capturing that is possible, right? Now, the next thing I want to show you guys is an interesting experiment. And I actually did this already. Let's take a look on this. And this is the other advantage of a notebook, which is collaboration, which most notebooks have. I think Notion you can share your notebook, right? I'm sorry, I'm seeing the notes. Right. With Notion, you can share your notebook with multiple people, right? Am I correct, Daniel?
Yes, sir.
Right. So that is a feature that is great. But check this out, guys.
If you're an architect or an engineer, you know the drill. The measured survey. It's supposed to be this fundamental team sport where you go into an existing building and just map out what's really there. But let's be honest, way too often it feels less like a smooth collaboration and a lot more like, well, organized chaos. A nightmare. I mean, that's a strong word, right? But it just captures the feeling so perfectly. This is supposed to be a precise, professional job. So why does it so often feel like this frantic, chaotic scramble? So let's talk about where that chaos comes from. It's the old school, traditional clipboard method. We're going to dive into the painful status quo that has for years defined how we do these site surveys. I mean, this picture pretty much says it all, doesn't it? You've got a team, sure, 3 people running around a building, but look closer. They're not really working together. They're each on their own little island of information, armed with their own separate clipboard, totally disconnected from each other. And this workflow, you can see it right here, it's just fundamentally broken. First, everyone captures their data all by themselves. Then, all those notes get stuck on those individual clipboards. And finally, some poor soul, usually an intern, gets the impossible task of trying to stitch all of these separate, often conflicting notes into one single, coherent drawing. Good luck. What you get is a complete nightmare of inefficiency. And it's not just that it's slow. The whole system feels like it was actually designed to fail. It actively creates errors every single step of the way. You know, it starts with something so ridiculously simple. The intern is back at the office, squinting at someone's frantic handwriting, asking, wait, is that a 7 or is that a 1? And that tiny little moment of confusion, it can snowball into huge, costly errors in the final drawing, all from one little scribble. And then you've got this problem. When the notes don't add up, and they never do, who do you even ask? Whose measurement is the right one? Did Steve measure that closet, or was it Sarah? The whole thing just spirals into a mess of guesswork and frustration. It's a system built on hope, not on accuracy. So what's the solution? How do we fix this? Well, it takes a totally different way of thinking. You need to create a shared second brain for the whole team, and that concept is called collaborative capture. The core idea here is actually pretty simple. You just replace all those separate clipboards with a single shared digital notebook. The key is that everything syncs up in real time, which means every measurement, every photo, every little note is instantly available to the entire team. And when you put the two side by side, the transformation is just, well, it's night and day. You go from having these isolated data silos to one shared notebook. That painful manual entry gets replaced by a real-time sync, and a process that's just begging for errors becomes a live, collaborative session. I absolutely love this quote because it's so perfect. It's not a metaphor anymore. The team is quite literally working on the exact same digital page at the exact same time. That single source of truth is being built together as they work. Now, in practice, this creates something really powerful, a hive mind. The team starts to develop this collective intelligence right there on site, and it totally transforms how the work gets done. So let's imagine this scenario. You've got member A in the hallway, busy measuring the floor plan. At the exact same time, member B is down in the creepy basement taking pictures of the boiler, and member C is walking through the building just dictating notes about the finishes into their phone. 3 separate people doing 3 separate tasks, all feeding into one shared space. And here's where the magic happens. As each person is working, their contributions, those measurements, those photos, those dictated notes, they all just appear in the shared notebook for everyone else to see. Instantly. There's no delay, no lag. It's all happening live. So, picture this. Member A is in the hallway, totally focused on drawing out the floor plan. And suddenly, popping up right on their screen is the photo of the boiler that member B just snapped in the basement. It appears right where it belongs in the plan they are actively drawing. And that is the aha moment. Without anyone even having to say a word, member A sees a critical connection. That photo reveals something they couldn't possibly have seen from a hallway, and it prompts them to immediately recheck a measurement. A huge potential error is caught and fixed, not a week later back in the office, but right there in real time. This all leads to the ultimate payoff, which is this fundamental shift in what a survey actually is. The act of capturing the information becomes the act of analysis, and it's all happening at the same time. This completely redefines the whole task. A measured survey is no longer this solitary, tedious chore of just gathering a bunch of data that you're going to analyze later. It's now a dynamic, collaborative, on-the-spot analysis of the building itself. And really, this is the biggest takeaway. The team isn't just collecting numbers and taking photos anymore. They are actively understanding the building, seeing all the connections, and solving its hidden problems while they are still on site, with the tape measure still in their hand. Ultimately, this is about so much more than just doing better surveys. It's a whole new way of working. So the final question I'll leave you with is this: what could you achieve if you could solve problems at the very moment you discover them?
Mic check, mic check. Ah, you're hearing me now, right? Right, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, where's this one? Okay, it's zooming. Okay. Right. So the idea behind this is, I mean, most of us use Google Docs when you're working on a document collaboratively. Am I right? I think that's like the leading program now, right? Sekou, how you doing? You good? Sekou here?
Yes, sir.
hmm So do you use Google Docs when you're
Um,
collaborating with a document? What's your
it,
go-to program?
it depends on I'm working with, but and what the assignment is. So,
Right, but if you're collaborating,
well,
because
yeah,
that's
yeah. If
that
you're collaborating, then yeah, because everyone can have access to the same document and make changes in real time. So,
exactly. And that's the beauty of Google Docs. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be OneNote in this case, but I'm just saying, guys, when you go on a site, right? So for example, this project that I show you the example of, um, two of us went on this. Two of us or three of us, I can't quite remember. But I remember one person was talking to the client, another person was taking photos, and another person was measuring. All of that was being done in the same on the same page, right? And and I think it was phone and tablet. So, you might have I might have the phone talking to the client saying, so do you like this? And what do you think of putting this here? And they say, yes, I like that. Oh, like this picture. I said, good, send the picture to me. Bam, it's right there on the page, right? The person who is measuring, see the picture pop up on their thing because they're on the same notebook, and they can instantly make a connection and say, oh, this cupboard could probably fit in this corner. This design could probably fit right here because it's popped up right there, right? I'm not saying it has to be a measured survey, but what I'm saying is that with the digital notebook, one of the best features is the ability to collaborate in real time. Not when I get home, I'll send you the notes, I'll email it to you later, you know, or rather, let me take a screenshot and send it to you now, but then you update the note after that. You get what I'm saying? So it's real time update. And that is something that I want you guys to consider, especially when you work on any group projects, right? Whether it is going to be Google Docs or whatever you're using, but we're not right now we're focused on note taking. So one of the features that you would want to check with your note taking app is that can it collaborate? Can I share this with somebody in real time? Not can I share it with them one time and that's it. Can I share it in a way where both of us can make updates. Is that update only limited to text? Because if you're using Google Docs, then sure, text is fine. But what about all of this stuff that you saw me put on the notebook here? Um, where did I create this new notebook? I created it here. Yeah. What about this video that I shared and this document and this file you know what I mean? The ability to for me to share this notebook and have it connected where both of us can make updates is like beautiful, right? All right, so that is one feature of it. Now, when you collect all of these notes, you need to organize them. And here is the big question. All right, I haven't talked to Rayan in a while. Ray, are you here? You good?
Yes, sir.
Right. I feel like I haven't seen you since DDM. Did we do 3D modeling or was that with a different lecture?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. My bad. Hey, you know the funny thing? I actually recognize some of you from your thumbnails in your Zoom. Like, yeah. Anyway, speaking to you, Ashley and Kaylee and Hamilton that have no thumbnails, right? So Ray, how do you, well, let me ask, do you store digital notes, digital files, digital folders somewhere, Google Drive, Notion, wherever? Do you store digital stuff?
Um, yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a rhetorical question because all of us store digital stuff. Do you store digital notes then? Let me ask you that specific one.
So when I digital notes, I use the notes on my phone, notes app,
Ah, which one of the notes app?
Samsung Notes.
Oh,
That's the only notes
Samsung
I use.
Notes. All right, cool. All right, original, vanilla. I mean it comes with the phone, right? How would you organize your notes? Like, just give me like a very broad thing. Like, because remember, you're in school, but you're also, you know, alive. So you're going to different places and experiencing different things. So is it that you have a folder called school, or maybe you have a project called Design Studio 4, and that's Design Studio stuff, or and then maybe you have another folder called grocery. I don't know. Like, do you have a method of organizing those notes?
So well, yeah, for school,
Hmm.
every semester I make a folder for each subject, every module.
Hmm.
And in the folder, if I want to make a note, I go into the folder and create a new note under that
Right.
module, quote unquote.
So you make it as modules. Got you.
Yeah.
But what about when you I don't know, you go to the supermarket and you need to just make a quick list. Would you use the same app or a different app or for
The same
whatever reason? So what would you group that under now? You'd have another
So
folder.
I don't have a group for that one. It just I don't know.
That's all right. File 13.
Yeah, it's just label grocery.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. I get you. I get you. Well, I don't have any more time to ask for any more examples. I would like to hear how Dania the Notion Queen, right? Um, how would you organize your notes, Dania?
So I'm not big as Notion is the Notion queen, not me. But I've used Notion, but not to that
Oh,
deep
not
extent. I
not to
use
the Queen level.
no, I use my Samsung notes to the queen level. So I in the same way you add PDFs and audios and stuff like that, you can do that with Samsung Notes as well. So
Oh, nice. Nice, nice, nice. Cool.
I my Samsung Notes on the Queen level. But the others I just tried out just briefly just to see what it is like. Yeah, that's so, yeah.
Okay. So in terms of storing your notes, how do you categorize them
So
generally?
I create folders and in the folder I would have different notes under that folder for that category.
Okay.
Yeah, you
So
can lock your notes, change it. You can do so much in Samsung Notes. You just have to explore it.
right, right, right. But
Yeah.
in terms of your structure, you make a category for that aspect of whatever life aspect it is. So it's
I have
school,
one
it's
for school. I have one for other notes, important information, scans that I've made that I need. So I could just go back into my Samsung Notes and pull it up. So especially if I'm traveling and I get my itinerary and I don't want to go into my email, I just send it to
right.
my notes. So yeah, I use notes a lot like that.
Okay, cool. So let me ask you then, what if what if you're traveling and you see this awesome building, and maybe it's an interesting detail or something, say, oh, I could use that one day in my project, or I like this. Where do you store that stuff? It's like a folder called inspiration, or what?
Well, not really. It depends. I just leave it in photos and I save it in my favorites or WhatsApp it to
Mhm.
myself.
Ah, well, yeah. No, no, no. I do that too sometime. And I'm
So
trying to actually get out of that habit because WhatsApp is so easy to download too.
yeah. So
And
it is for me to just add it to my favorites in my pictures. So I know, okay, just go back to favorites.
just go back to favorites, right? And well, so this is the trick because I would travel as well, and I take a picture, and then and there I just forget to, like, I don't necessarily contextualize it because maybe it's not linked to like a specific project I'm doing. It's just an inspiring picture. So you just snap that picture and maybe just leave it in your pictures or put it or WhatsApp it or something. But I mean, eventually all of this that we're talking about is bits and bytes, and they use space. So eventually that space will become filled. And at some point in the future, it's like, oh crap, I have gigs upon gigs of data. Where am I going to put it? And you have to move that somewhere else. But the point that I'm getting to is that there is an interesting approach on organizing notes here, which it's not for necessarily for school, right? It's called the para method, right? And you can even Google it because it's like actually a thing, right? It's like a method of storing notes where you store notes as projects, areas, resources, and archive. So this is like a very broad categorization of notes, but you can use it for anything, for school, for life, for meetings, or whatever. And the idea is that this is organized by importance. So, what I'm doing on time, I have a couple videos here. So let me play this one, right? It's only like 5 minutes. By the way, you guys are getting good audio when I play these videos, right? Like you're hearing it properly through the system. All right, cool. Cool, cool. Thanks. All right, so let's check out the para method.
You know that feeling, right? That frantic search for a file you know you saved? Somewhere, it's buried in a digital mess of folders called stuff and random screenshots. And it's just this frustrating, energy-draining cycle that holds so many of us back. Well, today, we're going to dive into a simple system designed to fix that for good. So, to see how this all works in the real world, we're going to follow the story of a student named Janelle. She's studying architecture, and her journey from total digital chaos to absolute clarity is going to be our guide through this whole thing. I mean, this was Janelle's reality. Her laptop was basically a digital disaster zone. She's juggling all these complex courses, and she was wasting so much precious time and mental energy just trying to find her work instead of, actually doing it. Sound a little too familiar? Okay, so here's our game plan to get Janelle and you organized. First, we'll look at the digital disaster zone she's stuck in. Then, we'll break down the solutions, her project's workbench, and her ongoing areas. After that, we'll cover her resources and archive library. And finally, we'll pull it all together into a blueprint for clarity that you can start using right away. And here's the thing you've got to remember. This kind of digital clutter, it isn't some kind of personal failing. It's a system failure. And the great news is that system failures have systematic solutions. The solution is called the PARA method. And it's this beautifully simple system that organizes everything not by subject, but by how actionable it is. Seriously, it all just boils down to 4 main folders. Projects for what you're actively doing, areas for your ongoing responsibilities, resources for things you're interested in, and archives for everything that's done. That's it. First up, and this is the most important one, is projects. Think of this folder like your active workbench. A project here isn't just some huge assignment. It's anything you're working on that has a specific goal and, this is crucial, a deadline. Now this is where it gets really practical. Look at what's actually in these project folders for Janelle. Her urban housing studio project isn't just one file. It's a collection of PDFs for her drawings, JPEGs of site photos, and get this, even MP3 voice notes from her professor's critiques. Her steel frame model project has video files of her progress, a simple task list in a text file, and web links to precedents. This is where the focused, day-to-day work actually happens. All right, next up, areas. So if projects are the sprints, areas are the long-distance runs. These are the big, ongoing roles and responsibilities in your life that don't really have a finish line. They're all about maintaining a certain standard over time. For Janelle, this is stuff like architecture degree, which is where she keeps her syllabi, grade trackers, and contact lists. But it also includes personal areas, like health and time management, with her weekly schedule and workout plans. And of course, professionally, she has portfolio development, an ongoing space where she collects her best work and inspiration for the future. You see, these areas provide the stable foundation for all of her active projects. Now for the final 2 categories, these act as your personal digital library and your historical record. I'm talking about resources and the archive. So, resources are basically your personal knowledge base, a curated library of topics you're just interested in. For Janelle, an architecture student, this means she's got case studies on building facades, technical diagrams for sustainable design, and software tutorials with videos and code snippets. This stuff isn't tied to any single project. It's knowledge she can pull from again and again for anything she works on. And then there's the archive. Its job is so simple but so powerful. When a project is done, the midterm is submitted, the model is finished, the entire project folder just moves here. You don't delete it, you just file it away. This instantly clears your workspace and gives you this really powerful psychological signal that you can now focus on what's next. And this is how it all flows together. See, Para isn't just 4 static folders. It's a dynamic workflow. A new task or goal starts in your projects. It's supported by the ongoing standards in your areas. You pull inspiration and information from your resources. And when it's all done, boom, it moves cleanly into the archive. Simple. So this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in practice? Let's take a peek at how you could set this up in a Notes app like OneNote or Notion or really any tool that uses folders. And there it is, just 4 top-level folders. That's it. You can see her active urban housing studio project is nested right under projects with its own pages for drawings and notes. Under areas, her general degree info is neatly filed. A specific topic like facade case studies sits in resources, and a completed project is time-stamped and tucked away in the archive. It's just so clean, it's scalable, and you can understand it at a glance. So what's the bottom line here? It's the transformation. Before Para, Janelle was just wasting energy, dealing with friction, and her job felt like managing files. But after implementing this system, she opens her laptop and immediately sees what needs her attention. She's got more momentum, she spends more time actually designing, and she's moved from digital chaos to real mental clarity. You know, ultimately, this system is about way more than just files. It's about creating an environment that actually supports your focus and your creativity. So it really just leaves us with one question. When you look at your own digital world, what do you see? Is it a messy, chaotic sketchbook, or is it a clear, well-designed plan that's ready for action?
Remember, guys, all of these notes are available for you. You can check it anytime in the mirror board. All right. All right. So what does this mean? This means that Gifford, how you doing, Gifford? You good? You, you awake? All right. While Gifford finds the mic, remember you can text me as well. Um, yes, Adrian, I see your message. Right. Most phones can capture text from images these days. Yep, that's a feature. Remember, Adrian, I was saying, it's not even about the feature. I'm just saying, make sure you have a way to do it. That's the first thing. And then secondly, make sure that you can collect them together in some way. Because you don't want to store something over here, so then store something over there, so and then you come back to it later, it's like, oh, all right. All right, Gifford don't find the mic yet. All right. Odin, what's up?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm good. So what this is saying is that if you have something working on with a deadline, you put that in projects.
Right.
When you're done work on it, you put it in archive, right? Which, I know that this is something that would have been good to do in like first year. So now when you reach the end of school, you would have a project called archive and all of your work is there. But, you know, also a lesson for life.
Yes, that would make sense to me. But
Yeah.
you,
Can't learn everything all at once. But anyway, guys, here's the thing about this pyramid,
Grayson, yes, sir. I
right?
hear say they try to call me.
Ah, yes, Gifford, what's up?
Yeah,
I
man.
was
What's up?
asked, yes, so what I was asking you, I know that you are a person where you 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 do a lot of drawing, right?
Right.
And let's say you have a collection of details, right? Because in this field, that is kind of like what we have. We have collections of details, we have collections of textures. Maybe some of us that do renderings, we have collection of 3D models. All of these things we classify as resources, right? So all of us should have some place that we store resources. This can also be maybe it's something about maybe it's a paper on how facades work, how HVAC works, resources. So if you're currently working on a project, it could be something for design studio or it could be some essay that you're working on. And you hunt down the internet and you find all of this information. All of that stuff would be in projects under the heading history essay, right? Because you're currently working on a history essay and it have a deadline. Now, when the history essay is done, remember to move all that content over to archive, right? You don't want to leave it in projects because you want to leave projects only for current stuff that you're working on. Now, let's say that you just find a cool link on the internet. It don't have anything to do with a project, nothing like that. You just find a cool link that you can, I don't know, watch videos, get tips on architecture or whatever. You would store that stuff in resources. And the other one that is called areas now. So for example, let's say that you are um let's say that you are going to study tour and you need to have maps of the location that you're going to, right? Things that the areas store things that you work on constantly. That's why the example showed things like health stuff, right? So it is something that there is no end to it. There is always more development on it. You know what I mean? So maybe if you're doing your resume and you're always adding stuff to add to your resume, and maybe that would be under areas, right? It is something that does not have a deadline, but you continuously add to it over time, over time, over time. So these four areas of organization is a way that you can put all your files together. And it's so this is not just about notes. So for example, if you're going Notion or you're going OneNote, yeah, you can have projects, areas, resources, archive, and so forth. But then what about on your computer? What about in your Google Drive, right? Because we store notes in many places, right? I mean, if you found a cool movie that you want to watch later, where would you store that, Spence? If you were using the para method, right? And you find a cool movie that you want to watch later, where would you store that one? Under which? You would put it in a folder maybe called movies, but where would that movies folder sit under? You Spence here? Ah, it's 8 o'clock. No?
The resources folder, sir.
All right, Gifford took the answer. Yes, the resources folder. It's not something that you're ongoingly working on, and it's not a project, and you don't want to archive it. Because remember, archive uses some kind of space somewhere. Space on your hard drive, space on your Google Drive, wherever it is. So guys, this is a method of storing digital information, right? All right. Now, the last two that's here is decode and express, right? And sorry, not decode. Well, decode could use, but distill is also there. Now, this one is interesting. Because remember, you collected the information that is captured. So you have, we're using a notebook in this case. We're not talking about files necessarily and movies. We're using the notebook because that's what we're focusing on. So let's say you captured a bunch of information, text, audio recording stuff, and you stored it just like how I stored it here in my example, which is here. So you stored all of this information. Then the next thing is organization. So you would organize, so I would maybe create a page. So I would go new page, bam, and I'd make this maybe a sub page. And maybe this would fall under project. So maybe I would have a where's the section? Right. I would have a section here called projects, new section, and maybe I call that projects. Caps lock. Good. Good. Oh, well, this was class activity there. I was looking for this picture. Anyway, quick notes. Oops. Oh, sorry. It was under this notebook. Ah, that's where it is. Good. Right, that's where it is. Let me close it. I have a lot of notebooks, guys, so forgive me. So let's say I have this one here, and I would call this projects. And then here is where I would have a project. And maybe this project that I have here is called, maybe it's a studio project. I'm just going to call it studio project, right? And I'm going to create a building. I'm going to call this one archive. And all of these other projects that I already finished, I'm going to move that over to archive. Here we go. So projects only has the project that I'm currently working on, and that's what makes it more organized for you. Because if you just have a bunch of stuff in projects, it's not going to be organized, right? So, right. So under project, I might have school. Maybe that is one. So let me rename this. I would call this. So this would be studio project. Oh, right. Right. So under project, I would have studio project. Now on the studio project, maybe I have something like, I don't know, interviews, recordings, whatever. I can put other sub pages under this, right? And then we have the other two that we had, which was areas. And then we have distill. Now, as I was saying with distill, it is it's two L's. Right. It is the place where you filter the information. So, oh, hold on. Remember, over here, you have a bunch of information, videos, images, a bunch of information, which is what you're seeing, um, which is what you're seeing here, right? So I have, no, actually, I do this wrong. On the project, you would have those areas. On the project, you would have capture, what's the other one, guys? What's the rest? Every project, you would need to have where you capture the information, where you organize the information, where you distill the information, and where you express the information. Every single project, right? So yes, you can organize your notebook in this way of projects, areas, and all of that. But think about it. For my studio project that I have here, this information is information that I have captured. Maybe it have a 10-page PDF in there. Maybe it have a 1-hour interview in there. But this is just me capturing the information, right? I probably need to organize it in some way, and I've tried to do that already because I have tried to only take the stuff that I need for the project. Now, the distilling of the project means you get rid of stuff that you're not going to use. Meaning, if I have a 10-page PDF, I'm going to go through that PDF and only extract the things that I need. So if I show you that in my notebook here, that I used for CSA, which is here, not project, but Institute, Student Sketchbook. Yeah, this is me, right? So let me show you some of these pages here. Let me look at, I want to show you some of these. Show you a good example of one of them. Like, where was that? This one is kind of, well, I have a better one. I have a better example. Okay, like even this one, where this is a book that I read, and out of that book, this was the useful things out of that book. So what I'm doing here is distilling down the information, because in the process of capturing the information, where are you? You are here, right? In the process of capturing the information, you can't use everything. So let's look at a quick example here. And this is one way that you can narrow down the info.
All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about this, well, this kind of quiet skill that can totally change the game for how you learn. I'm talking about taking that super dense, overwhelming reading and turning it into powerful, usable knowledge. You know, the kind you could just pull out whenever you need it. I mean, you've been there, right? Staring at a page just packed with jargon, crazy complex theories, and you just feel like you're drowning. You're reading the words, but absolutely nothing is sticking. So to make this real, let's follow the story of a student named Janelle. She's an architecture student, and she's staring down this monster of a PDF on urban design theory. You know the type. It feels like it was written specifically to be impossible to understand. And her old method? Oh, it's probably going to sound familiar. You grab that highlighter, right? And you just go to town, marking up anything that seems even slightly important. And before you know it, half the page is glowing yellow. But here's the thing. You never actually look at that neon mess again, do you? It's proof you read it, but it's not a tool that helps you understand it. But this semester, things are different. Janelle's got a new technique, a whole new system for tackling this stuff head on and, actually winning. So what is this magic technique? It's called progressive summarization. And honestly, it's brilliant. The big idea here is that instead of trying to swallow the whole ocean in one gulp, you systematically distill the information. You peel it back, layer by layer, until all you're left with is the pure, powerful core of it. It all boils down to 3 distinct passes. Think of them like layers of reading. First, you're just marking the structure. Then, you're zeroing in on the key ideas that matter to you. And finally, the big one. You summarize it in your own words. Let's walk through exactly how Janelle does it. Okay, so pass 1. Janelle just does a light read-through. Seriously, the goal here isn't to become an expert. Not yet. She's just highlighting the sentences that feel like the foundation. The main arguments, the key definitions, the big picture stuff. The key here? Absolutely no pressure. And I love this metaphor they use. It's like you're an architect walking through a building for the first time. You're not worrying about the color of the paint or the furniture, right? You're just tapping the walls looking for the main structure. You're finding the load-bearing walls of the argument. That's it. Now here's a really important part. She doesn't come back to it the next day. She actually waits a whole week. And that little bit of space is crucial. It's something called the spacing effect. Our brains just hold on to information better when we revisit it over time. So when she does come back for pass 2, she's got a laser-focused goal, her housing project. Now she goes back to only her highlighted sections, and this time she bolds the parts that are most useful for that project. See, this isn't random at all. She is actively hunting for very specific insights. For her project, she needs to know things like, how does density affect social interaction? Or how do thresholds, like doorways and boundaries, actually shape how people move between public and private spaces? This second pass is all about targeted surgical extraction. All right, now we get to the final step, and honestly, this might be the most powerful one. Pass 3 happens right before her big final review. I mean, the timing is perfect. It's exactly when she needs this knowledge to be razor sharp and right at her fingertips. This is where the magic happens. This is true distillation. She looks at just her bolded notes, at all that focused work, and she pulls it all together. And in the margin, she writes a single sentence in her own words. This is what forces her to truly internalize the concept, not just, recognize it on the page. And look at this. This just shows the transformation perfectly. Before, you've got that chaotic, useless wall of neon yellow, the panic highlighting. And after, you have the result of progressive summarization. A single, powerful idea, pulled from all that noise, totally ready to be used. So what was that one sentence she wrote? It was this. Density works when circulation spaces become social spaces, not leftovers. Wow. I mean, that is a serious piece of design intelligence right there. It's short, it's something you can actually do something with, and it's completely her own take on all that dense theory. Okay, so here comes the payoff. Picture this. Janelle's in her final critique. Super high pressure. A juror is looking at her design for a courtyard and hits her with a really tough, deep question about the social thinking behind it. This is it, the moment of truth. And what happens? Does she stumble? Does she frantically flip through her notes? Nope. She answers calmly, confidently. Because she's not trying to drag up some random fact from an article she skimmed weeks ago. She is just speaking from the core principle that she already owns, that she's already internalized. And that really gets to the heart of why this works so well. The technique didn't just help her remember something, it totally transformed it. It took that abstract, floaty theory and turned it into actual, practical design intelligence. It was compressed, it was reusable, and it was right there, ready to go at the exact moment she needed it. I mean, this quote just says it all, right? Distillation is what separates just having read something from being able to actually use it. And think about it, this isn't just for students. Whether you're prepping for a huge meeting, cramming for an exam, or just trying to get your head around a complex topic, this skill, this is the bridge between just letting information wash over you and actually being able to wield it like a tool. So that leaves one last question. What about you? Think about that dense report sitting on your desk, or that complex book you've been meaning to read. Are you just going to read it, or are you going to own it? What amazing knowledge is just sitting in there waiting for you to distill?
The main idea here, guys, is when you have a bunch of information to go through, when you have a bunch of text, video, just random stuff to go through, break, give your brain space between filtering it. Now, you may not have to do this for everything because some things are super simple. Some projects are simple. You can just get the information, and while you're getting the information, you're distilling it instantly. Meaning, you go to a page, you go to a website, there are 20 different pages in the PDF, and you know you only need the first one, you read through it and you grab it, done. But there are bigger projects now where, let's say, maybe this is probably more something for like your dissertation. Maybe you're into masters, or maybe you're just working on a big project where you the amount of information you're going through is a whole bunch. The main key takeaway with this step is break down the information and put time between each time. Put time between the informations that you break down. So collect the information, get only the main points, give it some time, come back to it again, break it down to the next main points, come back to it again, and then break it down again. That's really what it's saying when you're dealing with like especially large projects, right? So, um, for example, who was it? Antonio, you did the interview, right? How long was the interview?
So the interview was like 7, 8 minutes, 6, 7 minutes on average.
Right, like 6, 7 minutes. Suppose it was 2 hours. You recorded for 2 hours, right? Now you could use your app to summarize it for you, right? You could do that. Maybe, especially if it is super critical, maybe you want to make sure, because if you're going to trust the summarization with your life in hand, you're hoping that it didn't like summarize something that you would rather highlight as a main point. So at some point, you're going to have to distill that information somehow. You're going to have to take time to listen to that interview and break it down. So all this is really saying is that when you have large bodies of information to break down, try and do it in different layers. Another thing you can do, guys, which is super helpful, if especially for a studio project, let's say that you need to study, you need to go through a book, maybe it's a large book, maybe it's a dense book. Use some of the features of your note-taking app. Note-taking app nowadays can read to you, right? Dania, would it be Samsung Notes? Does it read to you? Like, suppose you have like, I don't know, 20 pages of notes to go through. Does that book read to you? Does Samsung Notes read to you? Let me know.
Yes, sir. No.
Um, so because that is a way of breaking down or distilling information. I don't know how much of you work out and listen to music while you work out, or listen to a book while you walk. Anybody ever try that yet? I know for when I was doing my dissertation, where you have to read multiple books, the way how I got through that was listening to the book while I walk, because Me sitting down and reading the book, I would always fall asleep. I mean, that's just me. But the point is that have ways that you can distill information. One way, when you're treat it layer by layer, first layer, highlight the main stuff. Next time again, you take that main stuff and break it down further. And the final layer, you write it in your own words. You extract it in your own words, right? And that way you absorb the information, right? It doesn't just become something that you just copy and paste and you have no idea of what you wrote. And the other way that you can distill is use up the technique, like especially when it has to do with reading, use some of these fancy apps. For example, I think since I'm using OneNote as an example here, let's say that, well, this is probably not the best example because I don't have a lot of stuff here. But if I find a random page with a lot of information, let me look for one here. Um, information. Okay, here is one. Well, here is one. I mean, this is not a lot of information. This is, I can read that. But let's just say if it was like 100 pages or something. You could go to the, what's it, on the view, immersive reader. And
Service areas industrial workshops administ RA ton incubator area gathering area industrial rooms communal area lit.
Okay, well, yeah, because that's a list. It's not like a sentence, so it might sound weird. But what I'm saying is that you can use the notes, play it while you do something else, and that in your brain, you're distilling the information secondhand. Like imagine you're doing a studio project on a museum, but you're also listening to a book about designing museums while you're working on the museum. Because your brain has two halves. Like you can totally do that and it won't confuse you, right? If you are in Revit or if you're doing something that like drawing, like you don't have to necessarily process it heavy. You can do something that is action oriented and reading at the same time, which is why you can exercise and listen to music. So that is a way that you can distill the information. And the last point, which is the E, is express it. And all this is saying is that you're using the information. Like after you get all of this information, all of these notes, you need to actually use it in whatever you're producing. Put some of the sketches on your studio sheets, like actually use the information that you created. All right, guys. So that is just a quick overview of ways that we can capture notes. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because for the rest of the semester, you're going to be using a digital notebook whenever we're going through our assignments, because it does require you to do some amount of collecting of information and that kind of stuff. I want you to actually use it, and this is how we will communicate. Well, I would recommend to you can use OneNote or use your own application, but the application that you use must have the ability to share, right? So for example, when we're going to our first assignment, which will be next week, and we're going to be looking on what that assignment is, you have to probably go and look up stuff, look at examples of stuff. I want you to store that information in your notebook, your digital notebook, right? So I want you to create a space that you can start collecting your notes. And in our instance, you're going to share the notebook with me, right? So for example, we might come to class today, we'll work on something, and I say, okay, guys, just send the link to your notebook so I can see what is your concept or whatever, and you send me the link. All right, Gifford.
Grace and peace, sir.
All right. Man, that was a lot of talking. I was hoping to only do like 2 hours of talking. I end up doing 2.5 hours. All right, guys, as I say, usually the way how this class go is normally talk for like an hour or two, and then comes the doing. So the doing part of this class is I want you to go ahead and set up a notebook. So when we meet next week, everybody should have a digital notebook, right? And we will jump into our first assignment. All right, guys? So that is it for class today. Um, there is stuff here, like for example, you guys can come onto the page and check out this other video here. Um, right? But all of this stuff is here for you to remember. Most of the stuff on this mirror board we will eventually go through. And, you know, I just encourage you to revisit the information, you know. What did sir say about notebook again? Okay, it's on the notebook. It's on the thing. Let me just check it out. Yeah, Gifford, question?
Yes, sir. So you want us to do the notebook?
Create a notebook for yourself, a digital notebook.
Right.
You might, if you have one already, that's fine. So for example, I know Dania has her Samsung Notes. Some people have them Notion. All I require is the ability to share. I think that's what I need for this class. But I encourage you, whatever platform you use, remember this listing that I gave you. Your notebook should be able to, you should have a way to do all of this capturing. That is the key thing. All right. All right. Okay, guys. Any questions before we go? Nope. Yes. You good? Miss Ned? You good, Miss Ned?
Hey, sir, I'm fine.
You're fine. All right. That's great. All right, guys. I will see you again on Monday after, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sir,
Mhm.
did you get an update on BIM?
Miss, no, I don't see a text from Miss Baker. Um, one suggestion that I hear is that the class might move forward by an hour. That was one suggestion, to start it at 8 a.m., which I'm fine with. I just have to get up earlier than everybody else. So that was one suggestion to let it fit. So I think, well, I don't want to say that's what they're implementing, but that was one suggestion that I got out of that conversation.
So, because, well, based on, oh, yeah, start recording?
Oh, yeah. So that's it for class. So let me stop